Okay, so I'm going to move on to the Olympus SLRs that I have, film SLRs. So I'm filming this on an OMD, which is kind of like a new range of cameras. It just gets called the OMD because it's the only one in that range, but it is officially the EM5, and it's part of the OMD range, which doesn't exist yet apart from this camera. And that is based on this, which this was the first one, if this ever bloody focuses on anything ever. There we go. And that is the Olympus OM1 with a Vivitar body cap. Anyway, these actually do still fetch a reasonable price. This one was very cheap, but the meter is broken. I don't think that'd actually be very difficult to fix because it's probably just a wiring problem or something kind of gone astray inside. But these were amazing when they came out because the lenses were fantastic, they were sharp, and the cameras were really quite small. And you know, you compare that to a digital SLR or most film SLRs, and that is small. It's slim and it's small and it is light, and it does a great job. I haven't used that. I could use it manually because the only power required is for the meter. Everything else, the shutter is all mechanical, so you can set the because it's uncoupled, I think. So you know, you would read the meter and set accordingly, I think. Not too sure now I say that. So I could, yeah, but I could certainly set the aperture and shutter speed myself and fire away, and it would obey without batteries. The OM10, I have way too many of these. I bought one of the only reason I have any of these SLRs is because I bought possibly this one for £10, maybe £15. I think it was £10, including a lens, a 50mm 1.8 lens, really nice little lens, which was the standard lens on these, because they're easily adaptable to the pens and the Micro Four Thirds basically. So I bought it for the lens, and it came with this and the manual adapter you can see on the side, which allows you to control the shutter speed without it being automatic. And it also bizarrely had a film loaded in it. And although I cocked that up by opening it, when I got it developed, I did get a couple of pictures off it of someone's kids, which was interesting. I have another one here, which I did have a bit of a disaster with some of these with loading film. I think this was when I was back new to loading it, and I was occasionally trying to do this in the dark to get more exposures basically off the roll. Being tight, and I think I was cocking it up quite regularly. So I think when I used the first one I had, I screwed that up, and I think I again screwed it up by rewinding the roll the wrong way, as in forcing the anyway. Completely screwed up another roll. However, I have used this red one, which I bought for very little money from a guy who turns out he lived just down the road from me, who does these things up and fixes them, and he also does a lot of work on Trip 35s, and I bought that for 10 or 20 quid, I think it was 20 quid, and he kind of recovered it in red leather, or fake red leather, and I just thought that was cool. And when I was in Budapest I did use that, and to its reasonable success, and I did get some quite interesting comments from people about it because of it being red. So I have another OM10 in there, I'm sure, and I'm sure I have another one in the other room, and the reason I have so many of those is just they were either ridiculously cheap, or they were red, or they came with lenses. That was usually the reason. So I bought another one because it came with a 28mm 2.8, which is still quite expensive, or you know, I don't know, sell for 30 or 40 quid possibly. So I bought that with the camera and a 50mm lens and the 28. Turns out the 28 isn't in great shape, but should be fixable. One of these is an OM30, I want to say, but that's a 10, so it must be this one. But it's probably not really worth getting that out. Kind of does the same job. Not really looked at that in great detail. Again, these are all laid out like this, so I can see what I've got several of and get rid of them, because this is, as you can see, this is utterly ridiculous. Okay, so I think that is that kind of finishes the film category. So we'll move back to digital. Okay, so first thing you probably notice is there's an iPhone 4S here. which has nothing to do with anything apart from this kind of pile here is stuff I have on eBay currently, and that is also on there because my wife has just switched to an Android phone and we're selling her iPhone, so it's just kind of in the pile of stuff that is on eBay. So what else do we have here? Basically, since I got the OMD, I now don't need the Olympus EP3, which again was just an eBay purchase, and it came with a Panasonic 20mm 1.7 lens, which was quite expensive. So I sold that lens, and that meant the EP3 cost me like £100 or so. So that should bring in a decent enough profit. Now that I'm settled on Micro Four Thirds, I've been umming and ahhing about getting rid of at least some of my SLR equipment, and this weekend I've decided all of it has to go because I don't use it. I just do not use it ever. So it's got to go. So as much as I'm attached to it, it just has to go. So Sony Alpha A500, nice SLR, but what's the point? I don't use it. A flash there for it, an 18 to 200mm kind of all-round lens, which has got a lot of interest on eBay, so hopefully that'll go for a decent price. A 70 to 210, which Minolta lens, because Sony bought out Minolta, that's how they even can make these cameras in the first place. And that has a tiny bit of fungus in it, much to my dismay, because that is, or was, a very legendary lens called the beer can, because it looks like a beer can. And unfortunately that isn't going to get that much because the prices of all this stuff has dropped dramatically since when I was buying it. Because I guess people just aren't as interested anymore. Sony have stopped making SLRs, they only make the kind of translucent mirror things now, which are kind of fake SLRs, and I think maybe that put a lot of people off as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. And some of the similar Minolta lenses, there is another 50mm 1.7 lens which I've sold already, which is nice, and a 75-300 zoom there as well. So all of that's on eBay and will hopefully be gone within the week, which will be sad but also nice for my bank balance. And then really here we just have stuff I need to get rid of. So my original A100, Sony A100, which was their first ever SLR. It was just basically a copy of the last Minolta one of the last Minolta SLRs. They only ever made 2 digital SLRs, but it was just kind of a rebadged and reworked slightly Minolta camera. Great camera, did me really well for a long time, but again I kind of want to keep it, but I'll just never ever use it, so that's going as well, but I haven't put that on yet, so it's kind of in this pile. And then there's just a few other bits, Sony bits, teleconverter, and there are a couple of Micro Four Thirds things that I need to get rid of. There is a electronic viewfinder for which would fit the EP3 or the EPL3, but I'm selling the EP3, and the OMD has an EVF built in, so I kind of realise I don't need that. And a flash, which is of no real use to me because it's barely better than the little flashes, click-on flashes that you get with the OMD and the EPL3, and I bought it because it was on eBay, basically. No reason at all. I was just getting into Micro Four Thirds and just looking on eBay at what other bits I could get, and I just don't need it. And just a couple of other little bits of Sony rubbish, lens cap holder, and a grip for the A100, and a book for both the 500 and the 100. So they need to go. And also just kind of next to here, last but not least, that's a Minolta film SLR, a kind of crappy 90s one, boxed. I just bought that because I thought I'd kind of getting rid of my Minolta digital or Sony stroke Minolta mount digital cameras. I'll just keep one as a memento, because all these lenses would fit, but I'm pretty much selling them all. But that had the kit lens in there, so it was just kind of a cheap win on eBay. Came with some expired film which has gone in the fridge, kind of might be interesting. Yeah, well, I think that's it. Apart from like the odd camera bag like there is down there, which again probably needs to go, and the 10 Fuji Instax wide cameras that I have from left over from my wedding, which need to go on eBay. That is pretty much it, I think. And you know, as much as it is ridiculous, it's not actually quite as bad as I thought. So I'm quite glad I've dragged them all out and laid them on a table, because there's quite a bit kind of that side going, so that only leaves all of this. But you know, that pile of trips needs to probably go. I've got 2 Holgers there, one of those needs to go. The fisheye things probably just need to go. There are a couple more trips down there. There's a couple of pens there that need to go, and that's just getting rid of the duplicates. You know, one of the Dianas can probably go. So maybe I'm not quite as ill in the head as I thought, or maybe I am. I don't know. Or maybe there's just a load in a box somewhere that I haven't even found yet, but I don't think so. I'm hoping that's kind of it. So I just thought I'd give a once over of all these cameras, more for my own benefit, because not many people are going to watch this anyway, so it kind of helps me to talk through them all and justify their existence. So if you have watched it, then thanks very much, and if you have any questions about any of them, just let me know, because I've got not a great deal better to do than answer these things, if I'm quite honest. So I'm always eager to chat about these things, so feel free to leave a question below. Thanks very much.